The Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 5 trailer just leaked. And let me tell you, it's not just about love and status anymore. It's about secrets, betrayal, and the terrifying truth about how fast everything can be taken away. From Larry's crumbling charm to Ada's haunting obsession with the dead, and Peggy's perfect romance now threatened by a mother who sees her as a disgrace. This episode will flip everything upside down, and if you think Agnes was controlling before, you haven't seen her truly snap. Asterisk. Peggy has always carried herself with strength, with grace, and with purpose. She has fought for her voice in a world that tries to silence her. And now, for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to dream about love, about a life with Dr. William Kirkland. But dreams, especially in the Gilded Age, come with a cost. In the leaked trailer for Episode 5, we see the cracks forming, not between Peggy and William, but between Peggy and the very world she's trying to step into. William's mother, who already looked down on Peggy's background, is about to cross a line that no one expected. She learned something deeply personal, something about Peggy's past that even William doesn't know. And the worst part? She doesn't stay quiet. She uses it publicly, in front of people who will talk, who will judge, and who will destroy reputations without blinking. You can feel Peggy's heartbreak even in the few seconds of the trailer, where her smile fades and her eyes fill with fire and pain. Her mother warned her, when you marry, you take on the whole family. And now, that warning is no longer a theory. It's happening. But here's the twist someone else is watching. A man, a face that hasn't appeared in seasons, and if we're right, it could be Peggy's husband, the one she kept hidden, the one she tried to forget. Could it be that William doesn't even know Peggy is still married? Could it be that her biggest secret is now in the hands of the one woman who wants to ruin her? The trailer hints at a confrontation, a humiliation, and a heartbreak so deep that Peggy runs to the station, to someone from her past, to a decision that might ruin everything she's built. But what happens when William finds out? Will he chase her? Will he forgive her? Or will he finally listen to his mother? This love story just turned into a war, and Peggy may be running out of places to hide. Asterisk. Larry Russell used to be the golden boy, the charming son of the most powerful family in New York, the one who had it all figured out. But the leaked trailer for The Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 5 reveals something dark simmering just beneath that perfect smile. Let's be honest, Larry always knew how to play the game. But when the stakes get too high and the money starts rolling in, something happens. Something changes. After the deal with Jack closes, Larry walks away with $300,000. And it's not just a number, it's a temptation. It's a door opening to a world of risk, excess, and recklessness. For Marian, it's the beginning of the end. Because no matter how much she tried to believe in him, no matter how many second chances she gave, the man she trusted is hiding too much. Secrets have weight, and Larry is carrying a load that's about to crush everything. In the trailer, we see Flashy's Marian alone, crying. Larry at a table, poker chips in hand, a woman, not Marian, whispering in his ear, "This isn't just about money anymore, it's about betrayal. It's about choices." And Marian is starting to realize that maybe Larry was never the prince she thought he was. Maybe he was always playing a different game. Her line in the trailer says it all. "Every man in my life has failed me." That's not just heartbreaking, history repeating itself. And for Larry, the fall from grace might come faster than he expects. Because it's not just Marian who's watching, his father, George, is watching too. And when George learns about Larry's gambling, or worse, that he's using business money to fund a tits going to explode, Larry might think he's clever, that he can balance it all. But this isn't college anymore. This is society. This is the Gilded Age. And in this world, one scandal can end you. What's worse? The trailer hints that George needs money. After losing Mr. Morgan, his empire is shaky, and now he's looking toward Larry not just as a son, but as a solution. But if George discovers that Larry is risking their name, their money, and their legacy on gambling tables and secret lovers, he won't be forgiving, he'll be furious. And Bertha, she's not going to sit quietly either. She's already lost Gladys to a loveless marriage, she won't lose her son to self-destruction. There's even a hint in the trailer that Larry might be kicked out. Imagine the chaos. George, furious, Bertha broken, Marian gone, and Larry, alone, cut off, with nothing but his winnings and his regrets. That's where we're heading. And honestly, part of me thinks he deserves it, but part of me wonders, is this really all Larry's fault? Or is he just trying to escape the pressure of being perfect? Either way, This episode is about to expose everything he's tried to hide. And the fallout is going to be brutal. Something is shifting inside Ada. Something quiet, yet powerful. Ever since her unexpected marriage and her husband's equally unexpected death, she's been walking a fine line between grief and longing, between acceptance and denial. But now, in Season 3, Episode 5, that line disappears completely. The leaked trailer shows us something we've only guessed at before. Ada isn't just mourning. She's trying to reach him, her late husband, and this isn't just about lighting candles or visiting a grave. She's actively trying to speak to the dead. Seances, mediums, whispered prayers in the hallway is slipping into a world that Agnes cannot tolerate. Because to Agnes, everything must remain in control. Dignity, silence, strength, that is how a Van Ryn survives. And anything that even hints at weakness, fantasy, or God forbid emotion must be shut down immediately. That's why this moment matters. That's why this fight might tear them apart forever. In the trailer, we get a chilling glimpse, Ada alone, eyes closed, murmuring into the air, her hands trembling. The lights flicker, and then Agnes walks in. The silence between them is heavier than any scream. Agnes doesn't say a word. Not yet. But you know what's coming. And when it does, it'll be ugly. Because this isn't just about Ada's grief. It's about power. Agnes has always seen herself as the guardian, the decision maker, the one who protects the name and keeps the household in order. But ever since Ada inherited the house and started paying the bills, has felt that power slipping away. No one says it out loud, but you can see it in the way she walks. The way she glares when she's not invited to an event. The way her voice shakes when she talks about society. She's being pushed out. Not by force, but by relevance. And this spiritual obsession of Ada to Agnes, it's just another sign that the house is falling into chaos. But to Ada, it's the only thing that gives her comfort. The only connection she has left. So what happens when Agnes confronts her? When she says the words she's been holding in for weeks? The trailer hints at it. A storm of accusations. Agnes calling Ada unstable. Ada finally standing up and saying, "It's my house now." And poor Jack is stuck in the middle. He's already hiding his new fortune from them. And now, this explosive war between the sisters might be the final straw. Agnes might demand he be fired, thinking he's part of the problem. But Ada, she won't allow it. She's finally finding her voice, and she's not afraid anymore. Not of Agnes, not of society, not even of the unknown. And then there's the question no one wants to ask, but it's right there, hanging in the air. What if Ada really is speaking to someone? What if there's something real in those seances? A voice? A message? A warning? Or is this just grief twisting itself into illusion? Whatever the truth is, Episode 5 is going to show us a side of Ada we've never seen, and a version of Agnes that's more dangerous than ever. Because when power slips through her fingers, Agnes doesn't just fight back. She breaks things, relationships, reputations, people, and this time, it might be her own sister who pays the price. Gladys Russell may have walked down the aisle in a gown covered in lace and jewels. But let's be real, this was never a fairy tale. This was strategy. This was survival. And now, in Season 3, Episode 5, we're about to see just how heavy a crown made of expectations and sacrifice can become. The leaked trailer gives us a taste, but you can already feel the pressure suffocating her from thousands of miles away. She's no longer in New York, she's no longer surrounded by familiar faces. She's in England, now trapped in a castle, locked in a marriage that was never about love, and under the watchful eyes of people who don't want her there. Especially her new The Duke's family may have accepted her in public, but behind closed doors, they treat her like a stranger who doesn't belong. And they make sure she feels it. Every glance, every comment, every moment of isolation is a reminder that Gladys isn't one of them. She's an American, a social climber. A pawn that Bertha Russell forced into their world for status and legacy. But Gladys? She's not weak. She may have cried at her wedding, but she's still a Russell. And there's fire under all that sadness. In the trailer, we see a flash of Gladys in the garden, her voice trembling, not with fear, but with defiance. She tells Hector, "I will not disappear here." And that's the moment we realize she's not going to let this cold, gray world swallow her whole. But here's the problem, Hector. The Duke of Birmingham may be trying to play the role of the kind husband, but kindness without love is hollow. He doesn't understand her. He doesn't see the pain behind her quiet smile. And worst of all, he doesn't protect her from his family's cruelty. The sister is especially vicious. There's something about the way she looks at Gladys, something calculating, as if she's waiting for her to break. And maybe she will, or maybe she'll explode. Either way, it's not going to stay quiet for long. And across the ocean, Bertha Russell is about to lose control of the very plan she orchestrated. Back in New York, Bertha is dealing with her own Storm George's financial struggles, Larry's secret, and a household that feels like it's shifting under her feet. But now, she also has to worry about Gladys. She gets letters, she hears whispers, she sees the headlines from England, Duchess behaving improperly, tensions in the Birmingham estate, and it eats at her. Because Bertha doesn't just build empires. She maintains images, and if Gladys falters, if the marriage breaks, if the scandal gets out, tit reflects on all of them. It threatens the Russell name and Bertha. She won't allow that. So what will she do? That's the real question. Will she send someone to England to fix it? Will she pull Gladys back? Or worse, will she blame her daughter for not playing the part well enough? We know Bertha's loyalty only stretches as far as her ambition. And Gladys, she's tired of being used. The trailer hints at letters going unanswered. At a tear-streaked Gladys looking out the window as the rain falls, whispering, "I want to go home." But will she be allowed to? Will Hector let her leave, or will he become the very cage she tried to avoid? And here's the darkest possibility. What if Gladys finds herself pregnant? What if the one thing that could anchor her to that cold castle is a child she didn't plan for, with a man she doesn't love? Suddenly, going home becomes a fight, not just for freedom, but for her future. One thing's for sure, Gladys's story is far from over. And episode 5 is just the beginning of a descent into a world she was never truly prepared for. Behind every powerful man in the Gilded Age is a storm. He can no longer control in for George Russell. That storm is finally here. From the very beginning, George has been the iron fist of the Russell dynasty. The railroad king, the industrialist, the man who could outmaneuver Morgan, bend society to his will, and protect his family with nothing but money and sheer force. But now, in Season 3, Episode 5, the cracks in his empire aren't just financial, they're personal, and they're spreading fast. With Mr. Morgan gone, George is losing influence, leverage, and most importantly, and in this world, when the sharks smell blood, they don't wait. They circle, and they bite. The trailer leaks confirm George is scrambling. He's making calls, attending desperate meetings, and looking for a way to patch the bleeding holes in his fortune. But what's worse than losing money? Losing control over your own son. Because while George is fighting to keep his empire afloat, Larry is off living like he has nothing to lose. That clock patent deal should have been the start of a partnership between father and son, but instead, it's become the dividing line. Larry doesn't want to hand over his earnings. He doesn't want to be told what to do. And most of all, he doesn't want to save a sinking ship he didn't help crash in the trailer. There's a moment where George corners Larry, his voice low, angry, almost begging, but Larry holds his ground. "This is my life now," he says, "not yours." And just like that, everything changes. That's not defiance. That's war. And George, he doesn't lose wars. At least, he didn't. Until now. Because Bertha is watching, and Bertha, who once saw Larry as the proud heir of their legacy, now sees a loose cannon. A son too blinded by charm and women to see what's really at stake. And Bertha doesn't forgive carelessness. She buries it. She erases it. The leaked trailer even hints that Bertha might push George to take a drastic step, cut Larry off entirely. Freeze the accounts, lock him out. Force him to choose between independence and family. And George, he might actually do it. Because this isn't just about money. This is about reputation, about pride, about the Russell name. And if Larry continues gambling, if he continues hiding women and spending recklessly, he could destroy everything George has built. There's even a rumor that Larry is being watched by society journalists, that his name has started appearing in the gossip columns. The moment that happens, Bertha will explode. Because image is her religion, and Larry is becoming the one sinner she can't protect. But here's where things get even more twisted. Jackia's sweet Jack is now a millionaire. And no one knows, at least not yet. George may still see him as the valet, the servant, the invisible man in the room. But Jack holds power now. Real power. The kind of power that, if discovered, could shift the balance in the entire Russell household. And when Agnes finds out, she'll demand he be removed. But Ada will fight back. Hard. Which brings us back to George. Because when all the women in the house are at war, when Bertha is fuming over Larry, when Gladys is trapped overseas, when Ada is confronting ghosts, and Agnes is threatening to throw out the help, George will realize something devastating. His empire isn't just crumbling from the outside, it's rotting from within. He built the Russell dynasty on strength, steel, and silence. But his family is louder than ever. And this time, money can't fix what's broken. Episode 5 isn't just another chapter. It's a warning, a reckoning, a moment where the very people George fought to protect become the ones who could bring him down. And as the trailer ends with a shot of George alone in his study, the fire burning low and the shadows creeping in, you get the feeling that he knows it too, that everything he built could be gone by morning. So the question is, will George Russell fight back? Or will he finally admit that he's losing? Power, pride, and painful choices. The Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 5 is a turning point where loyalty meets ambition and hearts are tested like never before. As old money clings to tradition and new money fights to be seen, this episode rips the curtain back on secrets no one was ready to face, and when the dust settles, someone will be left in ruins. It begins quietly, with Marian awakening to a letter she never expected. A letter not of love but of obligation. Her Aunt Agnes has arranged yet another suitor, this time a man with connections to the British aristocracy. But Marian has changed. She is no longer the girl who bends to the rules of high society. Her heart still aches for what she lost with Mr. Rakes, and this new proposal only reminds her of everything she's been forced to give up. But turning it down would mean going against Agnesen in this house. Rebellion comes with a price. Marian smiles at breakfast, but her silence is thunderous. She knows her life is not her own, and yet she dares to dream otherwise. Meanwhile, across the street, Bertha Russell is preparing for her greatest social triumph yet. An extravagant masquerade ball that will decide the fate of her family standing among the elite. But the whispers have already begun. The old guard lead by the ever-rigid Mrs. Astor is plotting to sabotage Bertha's evening, and Larry Russell, Bertha's son, has just complicated everything. He's fallen for someone the family can't afford to acknowledge, a servant with the ambition of her own. Bertha warns him one misstep, and the door to polite society slams shut, forever. But Larry, torn between love and duty, begins to realize that the world his mother built might not be the world he wants to live in. In Brooklyn. Peggy Scott returns to her father's newspaper office with fire in her eyes. She's uncovered a scandal involving a prominent railroad magnate, one with ties to the Russell Empire. But her father warns her, printing this story could cost them everything. Their reputation, their allies, even their lives. But Peggy is no longer afraid. She knows the truth matters, even in a city that chooses silence over justice. As she sharpens her pen, we sense the storm coming. Because secrets in the Gilded Age don't stay buried. They rise louder, uglier, and more dangerous. Oscar Van Ryn, on the other hand, is falling apart. His engagement is on shaky ground, his secret double life hanging by a thread. When a former lover reappears in New York, Oscar is faced with a terrible choice: flee or be exposed. He seeks refuge in his mother's approval, but Agnes is too distracted by Marian's resistance to notice the panic in Oscar's eyes. He visits an old friend, hoping to find clarity, but instead finds a threat. Someone knows who he truly is, and they're ready to use it. Oscar must now decide: sacrifice love for power, or risk it all for freedom. As the night of Bertha's masquerade arrives, the streets of New York shimmer with anticipation. The elite step out in glittering gowns and polished masks, hiding their true selves behind silk and lace. Bertha stands at the top of the staircase, her guests parading before her, but she senses something's wrong. Mrs. Astor has arrived, uninvited, and the moment their eyes meet, the war begins. Subtle jabs, icy greetings, and a ballroom split in two. But Bertha has one final move. A performance by the most celebrated opera singer in Europe, brought in secretly just for this night. The crowd gasps. Even Mrs. Astor cannot help but applaud. For a moment, Bertha has won, but in the Gilded Age, victories are always short-lived. Just as the ball reaches its peak, Marian slips out the back, her decision made. She's leaving. Not forever, but enough to make her point. She writes a note to Agnes, folded tightly in her glove. I will return when I can live as myself, not as your creation. Her carriage disappears into the fog, her heart pounding with freedom and fear. Elsewhere, Larry finds his lover waiting beneath a street lamp. No words, just a glance. And promise they both know will not be easy to keep. Peggy, meanwhile, places her article in the hands of her editor. It will run the city will know. But so will the Russells the next day. Bertha reads the headline and her face turns to stone. Railroad bribes spark political scandal. The name Russell is not mentioned, but it doesn't need to be. She knows who is behind it, and she knows revenge will be swift. And Oscar, alone in his room, he stares at the open letter in his hands. Blackmail, a demand, a choice. If he doesn't pay, his life will be ruined. He burns the letter, but the flames do nothing to ease his dread, because now he's playing a game he cannot control. By the end of episode 5, nothing is as it was. The masks have fallen, the lies have grown louder. And in this city of steel and silk, everyone must decide, climb higher, or be crushed beneath the weight of others' ambition. The Gilded Age is no longer just about wealthy, it's about survival.